Okay, people, this is update number 9, starting with Aaron Craft of Ohio State. Now, I'm gonna tell you right now, this isn't the strongest crop of guys that I'm have gone through or whatever. But like I said before, we're going in alphabetical order, and yes, I know Aaron Craft is not bald, but we ran out of white guys who weren't bald. And we know he doesn't have a tattoo. There's no way in the world he'd have one. At least I don't think he has one. But like we said, you got to take what you can get with the NBA 2K14 on next gen. Create a player suite. One of the things I hope that they expand first and foremost on the next version of next gen. And I think they probably will. All right, so let's look at these ratings. We all know about Aaron Craft. Not a great athlete at all. Just an okay shooter, but he does have a knack for putting the ball in the basket off the drive, and he's a pretty decent clutch shooter. Not a bad ball handler either. Only averages about 2.5 turnovers per game, which is not too bad. What he does really well is play defense, and he is excellent at getting steals. I think he averages like 2.5 steals a game as well. Very good, pesky on-ball defender, type of guy who offensive players, especially big-time scorers, just hate to see coming. But he's not fast. So there's a debate whether or not Aaron Craft will even make it in the NBA. Now, I had to give him some love on the signature skills because of his talents. I almost gave him active hands. I almost gave him, the signature seal about stripping the ball or jumping in the passing lanes. But I settled on hustle points and pick dodger because I don't know if he's going to be as effective stripping NBA players as he is in college. But I felt that something defensive for a signature skill had to be done. He's also a maniacal competitor, so I had to give him some love there too. So let's look at the tendencies. I don't know with Aaron Craft. I know he's going to get a shot because he has great character, all of the intangibles. He has a winning attitude. So there's going to be a coach in the NBA that's going to fall in love with Aaron Craft, is going to give him every chance to succeed. So the biggest thing for him is going to be whether or not he can step up with the opportunity that he gets. The biggest thing, and he's not going to get much faster. Okay, he's not going to be a better athlete. He is what he is. He's already 22 years old. Okay, so he's not going to, physically he is what he is. But the best thing that Aaron Craft could do to improve his chances of actually succeeding and having a career in the NBA is to get a dead-eye jump shot. Now, it's probably never going to be something he can really shoot off the dribble. But if he can be just near, he needs to be upwards of like 38 to 40% from three-point range. And it's going to be a set shot. But if he can get there, it improves his chances a great deal. Because right about now, offensively, I struggle to see what he's going to be able to really give a team. Because I don't think he can beat guys off the dribble. I don't think he's going to be able to muscle up the shots in the lane that he does in college against bigger, larger, more athletic defenders in the NBA. But I do think that if he gets that jump shot down, and especially if he plays with a guy who is great at gumming off the dribble from the perimeter, or if he plays with a big-time low post threat, I think there's shots there that he can get. And if he can knock them down, and he continues to play good defense, I think he could be a backup point guard in the NBA. I didn't give him a high potential rating because I don't see it getting any higher than that. So that's Aaron Craft for me. And you see that the overall rating for him is 66. That might even be generous. Let's look at Dawkins for Duke. One of my lowest rated players. I'll just tell you guys that already. I actually had higher hopes for Dawkins when I first saw him play at Duke. I said, this guy's a pretty good athlete, physically strong, has a good stroke on the jump shot. I thought he might develop into a little bit more. That hasn't happened at all. So this is what it is. I mean, you know, looking at him now, I mean, you see him coming up as one of the people that are considered to potentially be drafted in the second half by a few of the draft experts across the country. I could easily see him going undrafted. You'll have to wait and see what he does at places like the Portsmouth Invitational, and then if he comes in for some individual workouts, perhaps he can like wow some people. Like I said, he's strong, physically strong, should be a good on-ball defender on the wings, and he has a great stroke on his jump shot, even though as you can see, his three-point percentage dipped off a bit here in the last season. So we'll see what that actually turns out to be. But wouldn't shock me if he doesn't make a team and pretty much has to pursue his professional career overseas, you know, which obviously we know that's not a bad thing. Some guys made decent living for sure playing the game overseas. But Andre Dawkins' biggest problem is he can't put the ball on the floor, can't create his own shot. So he's a catch and shoot guy. So when you're a catch and shoot guy, you got to be deadly accurate as a catch and shoot guy, and you need to play good defense, because the best thing he can be is a 3-and-D guy. You know, we call 3-and-D guys guys who are defensive specialists, and their whole everything is based off of hitting open threes, off of penetrators or low post guys, similar to what I was talking about with Aaron Craft, but a little bit different because Craft can dribble and handles the ball a lot better than Dawkins, and Craft, of course, is a point guard, and Dawkins projects as a shooting guard, small forward. So that's my take pretty much on Andre Dawkins. Just like I said, thought he was going to end up being a little bit better than he is, or I actually thought a lot better, to be honest. Thought a lot better, but it didn't work out that way. So here we are looking at the hesitation layup, the dunks. He can get up a little bit, not too much. And that's that for Mr. Dawkins. Like I said, you saw the rating I gave him. I really couldn't substantiate going higher than that 60. Now here's Sam Dekker of Wisconsin. This is an interesting case because I have seen his name come up, and yeah, he don't have a headband and his hair don't go that high, but we know 2K didn't give us a lot to work with the white people. I don't know what's wrong with 2K and not giving us nothing for white people. We can't make a decent white person on the game if we try. Come on, can I get some help on the white people, please? So Dekker is an interesting case because he is only 19 years old. I've seen his name a few times mentioned as a potential guy in the draft. I personally think he needs to go back to school for his junior year. The talent is definitely there. He has a good shooting stroke, even though his 3-point percentage is it didn't do what I expected it to do. But he's a pretty decent athlete too. Can go to the basket, can finish with 2 hands or with 1. Pretty good length as well. I also really like his vision as a passer, especially from the perimeter. Not so much off the dribble, but just in terms of swinging the ball and recognizing the open man. Defensively, he plays with good effort, which of course, if you're going to play at Wisconsin, for the most part, you're going to give some decent effort on defense, or you probably aren't going to see a lot of time. So like his game there. So I think it's there. I started not to put him in this draft class because just looking at his situation, it just really seems like he'll probably go back. But we don't know yet. And so, hey, I decided not to. Now, I'll tell you what I might do. And I'm not sure. I'm not going to totally commit to this. But I might. If word starts to come out about a few of these guys not coming out, then I may take them out of the draft just to have it where the draft class is a little bit more realistic, or a lot more realistic, I should say. So if that happens, we'll do that. But I don't believe, I'll double check probably after I put this video up. I'll double check to see whether or not Sam Dekker is or isn't coming out. People like Aaron Craft, they're seniors, so they have no other choice. They're coming out. But Dekker has 2 years of eligibility left, and by my personal opinion, I think he should use them, or at least one, because he could have a breakout season as a junior. for Wisconsin, and you know, he could find himself in the lower part of the lottery. I think he has talent to be able to get to that point. But as of right now, I'd say he's a second round guy. I'd take him in maybe early in the second round, maybe the first 5 to 7 picks in the second round, only because the talent is there and he's still so young at just 19 years old. So, and he's been well coached for the first 2 seasons at Wisconsin, so I wouldn't really have an issue or worry about that. But yeah, for me, he is not he's not a guy that should be coming out right now. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do depending on what the financial situation is. All right, let's move to the next guy, which is the star of this particular update, Cleanthony Early. Now I'm going to tell you, Wichita State Shockers, a lot of people was like, well, yeah, you know, everything got proved right with them, and you know, they hadn't played anybody all season. They finally played Kentucky in the tournament, they lost. No, Wichita State's a good team, and Kentucky is probably the most talented team from top to bottom in the country. Okay, now just because they hadn't been playing that way all season, that's one thing, but from a talent standpoint, from top to bottom, no team has as much talent as Kentucky. In order to beat Wichita State, the Wildcats had to play arguably their best game of the season, and they still barely won the game. Cleanthony Early in that game was bananas, for real. 30 points in that game, absolutely no fear. He showed so many different aspects of his game in that game. It was crazy. The step back 3, the drive, even though he's more of a slasher, not an east-west guy, he's more of a north-south guy with the ball. But the athleticism, throwing the dunk he threw down, I believe it was on Willie Cauley-Stein, was ridiculous. Good rebounder. I like him. I like his game a lot, and that's why I gave him the 69, which is, of course, pretty good for a rookie. And you see the potential, I gave him an 85, because I mean, athletically, he has no limitations athletically. His arms, he has a good arm length, he has a good size for a small forward. The explosion is there. And from an intangible standpoint, this guy is a baller. He's a straight up competitor, and that's something that you can't teach. That's something you either have or you don't, and Cleanthony Early has it for sure. So I really like his game. To me, he's one of the guys who, in the NCAA tournament so far, you talk about guys who have improved their draft stock the most, I say Cleanthony Early is one of them. I also think Xavier Timms for San Diego State. I don't know if he pronounces it Timms or Thames, but their leading scorer for San Diego State, I think he has improved his stock. I also think that Adrian Payne from Michigan State has improved his stock, as well as Shabazz Napier for UConn. I think that he's really stepped up. I was really surprised to see him go off against Villanova. Coming into that game against Villanova in the tournament, he had averaged, in 3 previous games against Nova, Shabazz Napier had averaged 3.3 points a game. So Nova had his number, but I think he went for 25 on Nova in that game. So he really stepped up. They depend on him for everything. Even at 6'1", Shabazz is their team's leading rebounder. So he does his thing. I don't know whether or not what it translates to in the NBA for him, but so far I think he's helped his stock. So this is Cleanthony Early. Early is one of those guys, if you look at like the attire I gave him, he you know, he wore like, I don't know, about 10 different outfits this season. Sometimes he wore the sleeves, sometimes he didn't. I'm talking about the actual undershirt, I should say. He always wore the sleeve, and I believe he pretty much always wore the leg sleeve or leg pad or whatever you call that thing. I believe he also always wore that. So, and you see, I gave him some love on the dunks, because I went back not just looking at what he did in the tournament, but he threw down some nasty ones all season. So that's Cleanthony Early. And let's move into our last guy of this update. He is Seton Hall's Fuquan Edwin. Now, let me say something. I'm going to keep it right here on this screen for a second. I cannot say this enough. The draft class is not done yet. So I'm showing y'all, I decided to stop doing as much edits on it and just go ahead and do it live, because what I was doing is I was sliding through all of these, the ratings or whatever, stopping it, coming back and editing and putting my voice over the top. I decided to just go ahead and talk straight through as I slide through it, right? So you're seeing a lot of guys. Like right now, right beneath him, you see Melvin Ejim, right? Melvin Ejim is not a power forward, okay? And he's not he's not a number 55. He's not a rate, I'm not gonna rate him a 55. I just changed the names. I picked the faces of guys first. I'm noticing that I'm getting a lot of people that are downloading the draft class. I obviously can't stop anybody from downloading the draft class, but if you do, just understand this sucker's not finished. So you're getting just people that are matched up with their faces, but none of the most of the ratings. I've done some guys here and there out of the alphabetical order thing, but for the most part, it's in alphabetical order. And you see where I am right now. I am putting it into, I am, you know, turning it up a little bit, doing more. But you see, I'm just about to finish the E's. So if you're getting anybody whose last name begins from F down, chances are that, well, there's a decent chance that none of the ratings are going to be what I rated them, and their positions are probably going to be wrong. And then there's a bunch of placeholder guys I have at the end that I'll probably add in with some guys here and there, even though some of their faces are so ridiculous I don't have any idea who I would make them, because nobody looks like that. But just know that this is incomplete. And I have, when I started the update today, I had almost 1,900. This draft class was downloaded almost 1,900 times. Now, I appreciate that, because that just shows me people are watching the video and so on and so forth. I love that. But you guys are not getting the full deal. So if you guys are planning on maybe building off the roster, I don't know, that's fine, but it's not the full thing that I'm doing. All right, so let's go into Fuquan Edmond of Seton Hall. I like Fuquan Edwin's game, but there are some physical limitations. He's 6'6", 6'7", depending on which site you look at to get the height. I think I nailed the attire pretty good, even though he's a lot more. This guy's a lot more muscular than way Fuquan Edwin actually looks, but it is what it is. This is the thing with Edwin. He's made himself into a pretty good shooter. Got good form, nails the open shot. Not, you know, pretty decent. Shoots about 33% from three-point range, I believe it is. Very good defender. Very active hands. Gets his arms in the passing lanes. He has good timing and anticipation and jumping in the passing lane, which is why you see him having a pretty good steal rating there. The problem with Edwin is that he is not an explosive athlete. I had to watch a lot of tape before I even found one time where Fuquan dunked the ball. I'm talking about even on fast breaks, like breakaways, where there's nobody ahead of him and there's nobody real close. He's not throwing it down. And then I watched him drive into the lane and finishing, and he just doesn't get that explosion when he finishes, when he goes to the basket. The problem with that in the NBA is that the guys are bigger, stronger, faster, longer, better athletes, jumping higher, all of that. If you can't finish when you go to the basket as a perimeter guy, it's going to make it difficult for you to do anything offensively inside the three-point line. That's just the bottom line of it, okay? So that's the predicament that Fuquan Edwin finds himself in. Now, that said, because he does play such good defense, because he is a four-year player, because he does have great work ethic, and he's really worked on his game since he was a freshman arriving in Seton Hall. I see a little bit of like a Jimmy Butler, Mikal Petrus kind of a player in him. I tweeted that a little bit earlier, but those guys were better athletes than Fuquan Edwin is. So that's the thing. You know, Jimmy Butler has some bounce. Mikal Petrus had some bounce when he was younger. I don't know or don't think that Fuquan has that same bounce. It's not anything that he's going to get either if he doesn't have it yet. So that's his issue, and that's the reason primarily why you see that I have him rated a 60, which is pretty low. But know that the defensive things and that sort of thing are there. So that's it for Fuquan Edmond. That's it for this episode of the Draft Class NBA 2K14 PS4 sub. Let me just tell you guys, the subs, I appreciate you guys. I'm not gonna let you down with this draft class. I'm bringing it, and I'm trying to crank it up so that we can get this done by that goal that I set, which is before the end of the NCAA tournament. We're in the Sweet 16 now, so we gotta go. All right, y'all subscribe, follow, peace.